start?
It's 8 o'clock, 7
All
o'clock.
right. Welcome to the May 16th hearing of the Scituate Zoning Board of Appeals. We're going to start with the first application, continued from April 25th, 2019. The application is by Kevin E. Hunter and Karen A. Hunter of 8 Northy Farm Road in Scituate. They're requesting a special permit or finding in accordance with MGL Chapter 48, Section 6, and/or Section 810.2 of the Scituate zoning bylaw for relief the Board of Appeals may grant to raise and reconstruct the pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling at 52 Otis Place in Scituate.
Great. All right. So
there was nothing.
so Jeff DeLisi.
Just continue.
That's right, this was fully continued, sorry.
I'm sorry, I was just clarifying that as I was not at the April meeting, I wanted to confirm that this was continued and not, so I have been participant in the prior hearings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so Jeff DeLisi, Orenberger, DeLisi, and Harris. I'm here with my colleague, Attorney Michelle Nuzzo, behind me, as well as the applicant, Kevin Hunter, who's also behind me. I'm here with Rick Savant of Stenbeck and Taylor Engineers and Land Surveyors, as well as tonight we also have with us Dick Rockwood of Rockwood Designs. So, just as a clarification, the notice that Anthony read indicated special permit finding. We're not requesting a special permit. This is not a special permit hearing. It's a finding, straight up finding only. Yes, continuation of the last hearing. We have revised the plans, and I'm going to ask Rick to go over the revised site plan briefly, as well as I'm going to ask Dick Rockwood, because the board and the public did not have the benefit of architectural renderings. It's not something that's required, but I think it would be helpful to explain what this is going to look like. So Dick is going to present that. Just a brief overview, we have a lot that's about 7,000 square feet in area. The zone is a 10,000 square foot zone. The existing dwelling on the premises conforms to all zoning setbacks. There is an average setback calculation at play here, which reduces the required front yard setback from 30 feet to 24.2 feet. As Anthony indicated, and as the board knows from the first hearing, we proposed to raise the house and rebuild it. The new structure is proposed to be fully conforming to all yard setback requirements. The first thing I did when I presented this, when my client first contacted me, was review the application, and I wanted to spend a second. I know this matter was addressed at the first hearing, but I want to be clear on this. Is the application contained an error on it in its calculation of gross floor area. The application indicated that the percentage increase in gross floor area was 353%. That was 100% more than what it is. It's proposed to be an increase of 253%. I know it was discussed, but I wanted to be clear on that. Rick and Mr. Rockwood will explain what we've done with the plans, but as a brief kind of encapsulation, we've moved the house further away from the westerly sideline, about 2 feet. We have...
Jeff, can I interrupt just for a second? I just want to clarify, what is the increase? Because the plan that I have before me says it's 238. Is that what you just said?
The increase in gross floor area?
Right.
That was the original? That was the original.
No, the original was 3 something.
The original was 353. Now,
But you
Jeff
just
is-
said it's actually,
253.
And I
and
think I
yet
have one that
the
says
plan says
203.
238.
Okay, then I'm mistaken, so it's
I
238.
just want to make I want to get that, if you're clarifying the number, I want to clarify it so we know what it is.
Thank you for clarifying that, Ed.
So that the increase, just so we're all on the same page, the increase is 238%.
That was on the original proposal.
In,
No?
Yes. Yeah,
All
they
right.
just misspoke. You guys
Okay.
crossed your wires.
Okay.
Current house, 950 square feet. Current proposal, 2,880 square feet.
Yes.
That is an increase of 203%.
All right, so now it's
Right?
203.
Now we're all on the same page.
this house is shrinking as we
Yeah.
talk.
Okay, but they did, no, that's,
If we keep going, it'll be back
Yeah,
to
but
900
it's-
square
it is
feet.
clear here on the plan. I think we were confusing each other.
I asked
Which
Siri
plan
to
are we
give me
looking
the percentage calculation, so.
This plan, they put original proposal on here. Ignore that. The original proposal is not gone. It is not before us tonight, I think, is how you might say it.
oh, I see, all right, I got it, all right, I'm reading
Yeah.
it 203, all right, it's that one. Okay,
So,
sorry to
we're not
interrupt.
requesting a 353% increase, we're requesting a 203% increase, which I think is a substantial difference. And I just, as I was saying, just the changes, kind of a broad encapsulation of the changes, moving the house further from the westerly sideline from what it was initially proposed to be 2 feet, we're moving it 2 feet further away from the westerly sideline. We're proposing a vegetative screening along the westerly property line, which shows on the site plan. We were able to relocate the driveway. I understand that there was an issue that was articulated concerning saving a beautiful old tree that's kind of right straddling the property line in the front. We're gonna save that tree, it shows on the plan. And Dick Rockwood will kind of go over, you know, the change in the roof line and some other aspects to try to soften the house. So, also, very briefly, I'm gonna ask Dick, because I think one of the major issues that we're discussing tonight has to do with the neighborhood and the character of the neighborhood. And so we did a little analysis of that, and Dick's gonna review that analysis. But in summary, we've identified quite a bit of non-conforming lots, quite a bit of houses above 2,000 square feet in size, quite a bit of houses, some houses, 10 houses above 2,400 square feet, which we think are in the ballpark of where we're at. And then 3 houses that are above 3,000 square feet. And so Dick will go over that. So, Rick, how would you like to,
Yeah, I'd like
what has
to,
happened?
Attorney DeLisi pretty well covered it, but I just would like to kind of revisit the changes that we made since the last meeting to the plan. The house width was reduced by 2 feet. In doing so and we held the easterly sideline, which made that increase that Jeff spoke about,
Here,
to the westerly sideline. Would you like for the board to view it or for the audience?
yeah, why don't you hold it, Michelle?
I can, so, the house was,
Well, we have a plan, so it's,
yeah, I know they have a copy. So the house was reduced by 2 feet, which increased the left sideline setback by 2 feet. This is where the change.
You can just
Direct
show
it that way.
Because we have one thing.
Excellent.
Do you guys want a scale plan? Or,
We're-
so I'll just give that to you.
There you go.
That's yeah, we have that on the other side. So this one also shows the arborvitae hedge that we're proposing 6 to 8 foot height at planting arborvitae with a screening buffer between the house to the left and the proposed house here. As Jeff pointed out, we did reconfigure the driveway to allow for that maple tree that's out front there to remain. So we kind of reconfigured it as the same entry as the existing driveway that's there, to save that tree. Also, that was pretty well. On the others, we had another sheet that we just submitted to show the footprint of the house, which just is kind of an overlay that shows the existing and the proposed footprint. with the setbacks on it, just to clarify everything, because the other plans are very large scale, so just want to make that clear. So that's essentially what we did.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Okay, how about, Dick, why don't we go over what the house looks like and so forth?
I don't think so. Let me see. That's that fun one. Do you have an easel?
Going back there.
Let me use this corner.
Actually,
I
there's
think
an easel
we
back
have an
there in the
easel
corner.
back there
Why don't we
by
grab
the door.
one of those?
Thank
That's
you.
gonna be most
I
helpful.
think there are 3.
All right.
Put a couple of easels on the easel.
Yeah, yeah. The first one's free, after that, there's heavy fee.
This is what I'm just gonna go over with.
Thank you. Oh, boy. And it's color-coded.
Yeah, look at
Big
this.
print.
Thank God.
That way I can see.
Sheesh. Killed some trees here.
Oh, my God, I love this.
I don't love that this is necessary, but it's a nice presentation. You know I don't love it's necessary. We'll get to that.
So what I did was I wrote a section of the GIS zoning map. Not everything on the map is up to date. And this is, we do have a copy on in front of you. So what I did was I took the houses in the area. So this is the 52 Otis right here. Okay, and everybody can see it. Took the houses immediately around this, what I consider the neighborhood. All right, the ones that I've highlighted in yellow, which are sort of that green color because it bled through.
Yep.
The ones in yellow are actually on non-conforming lots, which is the reason why we're here. The lot's non-conforming, it's under 10,000 square feet.
The ones in
Yep.
yellow on the list, not on the plan.
Yep.
Right. It's sort of a green on the plan, probably more yellow on your smaller copy. The other ones that are in a blue-green here are still houses in the neighborhood that I went through, and they are on conforming lots. So I'm just trying to show what represents the neighborhood, both non-conforming and conforming. And that's what I've broken the list down to be. And it shows also the size of the lot, but it also shows the size of the house that's on the lot. And I took this, I have all the copies of the zoning, town zoning maps, I took all the information on. When I'm saying size, I'm talking living space, square footage, because that seemed to be what the flag that was raised, because of square footage in the area. And also in that packet, if, I'll go over some of the square footage stuff in a minute. This is the area. But there was comments made about the house for the neighbor next door and being on top, although we're meeting all our side setbacks required by zoning. So what I had done is I had taken the original print and that I had, not that anybody had really seen the drawings for the discussion, but we moved the house back 2 feet. I cut the roof line down. The yellow indicates what I've taken off, just to decrease that room up over the garage, so it's not. Also, it had double hung windows on it. This was the original before, some double hung windows, so I made them just high awning windows in that room, up over on that side facing the neighbor. So I did what I could to cut out some square footage, cut the house down, move it back, what I felt was reasonable without losing all the characters that the hunters wanted for their house. I also have the house plans here with me, the full house plans. The house is 2880 square feet of living space. It's really only a 1.5-story cape style house. It's not a 2.5-story, there's no third floor walk-up attic. It's very much what I feel is in keeping with the neighborhood and the general design. It's sort of a synopsis of that list that you're looking at, which I just had here with you. That is There's 17 properties that are less than 10,000 square feet in that area of those houses. 19 of those properties are more than 2,000 square feet of living space. 10 of the properties are in the same ballpark as our house. They're 2,400 square feet to 3,300 square feet as they are listed there. There are 4 properties that are larger than our house that are 3,000 square feet existing in the neighborhood and right in the vicinity of the house. The ones to be noted, and I can hand you this list, it's 54 Allen Place, 27 Hazel, 28 Hazel, 54 Otis. They're over, they're larger than what we're proposing here. So I do feel that we're in the keeping of the town of Scituate and the neighborhood, and that was our intent. I also, there's some other houses on the property. I know these were some condos that were built in the neighborhood here. I don't know what the whole story was with that, but they're 2 families that divided up an acre lot, so they're pretty good sized houses. We're nowhere near that volume. They're almost 4,000 square feet each structure, so feeling that we're doing our job to make it fit within the neighborhood, so.
That's it.
Any questions?
All right. So you're including screening, you're saving a tree, you've modified your design to try to make the new proposed home fit in more with the neighborhood,
And to reduce it in size.
and to reduce it in size from what you had initially hoped.
Right, and we slid it 2 feet further away from the westerly sideline, closest abutter.
I was of the opinion that your initial application quite handily met all of the requirements that you needed to meet by law to be entitled to the finding you're asking for. I'm now of the opinion that you've gone above and beyond. I've said before on this board, this is not a historic property, right?
That is correct.
So it's not subject to any form of design review under the Scituate zoning bylaw. And you could build a house that looked like a pirate ship if you wanted to. And as long as it was within the setbacks, I would feel that you would comply not only with the case law and the statute, but with the Scituate zoning bylaw.
The only other thing I wanted to add with that, Anthony, that I had forgotten to mention, is I wanted to reiterate to the board, something I know the board knows, but I think is important here, is that there is no lot coverage ratio requirement in the zoning bylaw.
As much as some of the town would like to enforce it
Right.
from time to time.
Yeah,
would
and
agree.
I think that's what's afoot,
Yep.
is in the absence of a lot coverage bylaw, there are those some people, who would like to backdoor a lot coverage bylaw by limiting, quote, mansionization, and limiting the size of a structure. And as you correctly point out, not only do we not have that bylaw in Scituate, the bylaw, Scituate zoning bylaw is clear, and 40A, Section 6 is clear, if it meets the standard, that absent that bylaw, if it meets the requirements, the relief shall be granted. My objection when this came in was that I thought it was out of character with the neighborhood. I thought it was too big, and I'm familiar with the neighborhood. I drove up and down the street. I drove around Allen and Otis, and I've walked up and down those streets dozens of times, and my sense was that what they were proposing did not meet the 40A Section 6 requirement. I thought it would be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood.
And we, in our first, came to a difference of opinion.
Yep.
In that I don't feel that the statutory or the case law standard for substantially more detrimental takes into account one's opinions on the look or size of a home. If the size of a home contributes to a safety concern, a fire concern, that's a detriment. Look and size, just for the sake of being upset by a number, is a personal preference, and I do not believe that was the purpose or the intent of the statute, and I do not believe that's how the cases have interpreted it.
That's correct. And the applicant this evening has gone, as you said, above and beyond the
so.
requirement. This is extraordinarily helpful. Thank you. And the architectural plans, I mean, I think it'll be a beautiful structure. You didn't have to save the tree. You could have cut it down, but you did. And you didn't have to plant, I mean, I don't know if anyone knows anything about the cost of plants, but 8-foot at planting, those are some expensive screening plants. You could buy 2-foot for, $50.
And then watch them die during the water
Yeah.
banning. Or just come to my house and watch
Eight
them.
feet, they're gonna survive, and that's, the applicant has reached into his pocket and is spent a significant sum of money to address some of the concerns that were raised at the last hearing. And I applaud the applicant for doing that. And by extension, the representatives of the applicant that have come before us this evening. Based on everything that's been submitted this evening, and the representations of the Jeff, the lawyer, the engineer at Stembeck and Taylor, and Dick Rockwood, I believe that it does meet the requirements of granting a 40A Section 6 finding.
We monopolized, sorry.
I think, personally, I think that the renderings I think they shed some serious light on this. Seeing it on a site plan and seeing, the building in the envelope, that's one thing. And I'm gonna differ with Anthony a little bit on substantially more detrimental, my interpretation of what the case law may be. But in this instance, by seeing these renderings, I think that they've shown the steps that you and your clients have taken. And, there's been a substantial decrease, I believe, in the square footage. In looking at what Mr. Rockwood presented, some of the surrounding properties, in fact, one of the neighbors, and I know we don't have an FAR, but if you calculated an FAR for 54 and 52, I'd say that they're pretty darn close.
7,328 square foot lot with a 3,078 foot house on it,
Yeah, I'm looking at this one, 54 and
54.
52.
right? Yeah.
I'd say that the FAR is probably pretty close on that one. I like what they've done. I think that this is something that does fit in the neighborhood. I think it's remarkable. Change.
Yeah, it's change, and nobody likes change.
Right.
But I think once this new house is up, you're not gonna, it's not like you're gonna drive by and be like, oh my God, who put that thing up?
Right, and it's
not
not a
beautiful.
neighborhood where there hasn't been new houses done or
Oh, yeah.
substantial improvements done, so it's, I think it'd fit, yeah.
Yeah.
These are public hearings. We have them for a reason, so the neighbors and the applicant can make their case. This is a great example of how cooperative this process can be. I was of the opinion and continue to be of the opinion that according to the bylaw, if the structure on the house, on the structure on the lot burned down today, this proposed residence and the one that was proposed in the prior manifestation could be built by right. So I think that the applicants coming forward with modifications that address some of the concerns of the neighbors, the plantings, which are completely voluntary, they're not, we don't have the ability to, well, I suppose we could insist it, we can make that a condition of
We
a
felt
special
the
permit or
detriment
something.
hung on that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an extraordinary, that's pretty extraordinary. So I think that the applicant's willingness to save the tree, move the driveway, downsize the house is compliments to the applicant and representation to come to that agreement. My opinion hasn't changed. I think it's acceptable according to the bylaw, and that I'm not swayed to, from my opinion, to find in the applicant's favor.
Jeff, looks like it's a 3-bedroom house too, right?
Yeah, before and after.
One of each of those sheets.
We did get some correspondence, if you want to read.
Yeah, so, you know, Bob, do you have anything to add first?
No, I really don't.
Okay. We got some correspondence. Raise your hand if you wrote a letter on this and you're here.
You'd like to comment on it, or?
All right. I think we're gonna let you guys speak, because you're gonna do a better job than me trying to make a summary of your letter, and then if there's something that was in the letters that isn't covered by the audience, maybe we'll read that afterwards. Does that make sense? All right, just your name and your address for the record, please, and then we'll go one at a time, and I'll point.
The letters are in the record.
Yeah, so the letters are on file, but sometimes if someone can't make it, to set the tone, we try to summarize it, not read the whole letter. You guys will do a better job than we will. Yes, please.
I'm sorry, Leah Scott, Otis Place.
Yes.
I have a question to Mr. Kavanaugh. You
Yes.
mentioned a farm and a couple of addresses. I was a little bit confused.
That's floor area ratio.
Okay, so that's,
It's not even in the Scituate, it's not part of the Scituate zoning bylaw. What it calculates is based on the floor area ratio of the house to the lot.
okay, and you compared two addresses?
Yes, I'm looking at what was submitted, 54 and then 52, which is the proposed.
So 54 Otis Place as well as 52?
I'm sorry, I believe it's 54 Allen.
Okay, 54 out.
Yeah.
Okay, because in the case, my numbers are correct, and I got this information from the property card. The case of 54 Allen Place, it's a
Mine says Otis.
3,078 square
Says
foot
Otis.
house on a 34,613 square foot lot, which
Yeah,
is about 8%.
I think you guys are looking at.
This is
Otis Place,
54 Allen.
54 Otis Place.
Okay,
This
54 of this place is a 2,044 square foot house on a 7,752
Correct.
square foot lot, which is 26%.
But 52 is,
52
Is a larger house.
Proposed as a 2,800 square foot house on a 6,955 square foot lot. So
I
that's
have-
more like 40%.
I have
Right.
7,187.
There
So I
is
don't see that they are that similar, I guess is my.
no requirement for lot coverage above or below in Scituate.
There's no requirement, but I guess
I-
it sounded as though you were saying they were very similar, and I'm not sure.
I guess what I'm saying is that they're not too far off. I think that what they've proposed, based on the lot size as well as other surrounding areas, I think it's not substantial to the other
I
lots.
just want to make sure I understood.
Yep.
Thank you.
yeah, you go to this one.
I'm Luke Driscoll, 55 Allen. I just wanted, talking about the lot size specifically, 55 Allen and 54 Allen, they've got the wrong lot sizes because there's two lots at 55 that are the same house and 54 has the plot behind it. Just to talk about comparing lot sizes. So I saw on the map, lots of them were yellow, that shouldn't be. That's
I'm not sure I follow you.
It's related to FAR, so it's
Yeah,
not, it's,
that's really-
which is moot.
I was just talking about the actual lot size being non-conforming and both of those are conforming.
Right.
So, just wanted to point that out in the drawings.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah, there's a Z
Thank you.
line, there's a Z line on the map. Yeah.
yes. Anyone else? No? Okay. So there's some people who wrote letters who do not wish to speak. Yep, yes.
My name is John DeMarsh, live at 39 Allen Place. I missed the first meeting, watched the recap of it. So I'm happy to see there's been some movement in what the applicant put forward. I would also just say that, let's not be sort of lost in these things when we look at just purely horizontal dimensions on a plan, and I'm glad the applicant brought in some renderings, and maybe the earlier process would have helped if people saw the renderings. Because, when we look at an analysis like this, and we pick off numbers of floor area ratios and conforming and non-conforming, we can kind of circle around the neighborhood and pick out the ones we want to tell the story we want. And a lot line might be a foot less shallow, or a foot deeper, or some might have, 10 square feet extra, we can call it conforming and non-conforming. Nevertheless, it's a good exercise to illustrate the neighborhood. But aside from, horizontal dimensions, the real issue that has people here and had people back in the neighborhood is not just one dimension here and here. It's the character of the neighborhood. When I moved here 3 years ago, I took one walk up Allen Place and one walk down Otis, and I knew it was a very special neighborhood, just those streets. Pre-war development, not a subdivision, walkable community, very old housing stock. My house was built in 1908. And people are sick of the teardowns. And it's clear. So when, it's not surprising that when you have a 950 square foot lot, you have to put 3,000 plus square feet on it, people come out of the woodwork. So it's really a character issue. It's not how many square feet is it. It's what the street looks like. And when you go up the street, it's like an outdoor room. It's an outdoor space. So the reason this lot is problematic is because it's so shallow. And you could build whatever you want on the facade. You could go back 200 feet and it wouldn't affect your outdoor space. When you walk up and down the room, it wouldn't affect the size of that room or the feeling of the street. And that's really the design of the street, what the character of the neighborhood is, with a variety of housing stock. So with all that, though, it looks like we're sort of at the tail end of the process. And I guess from what I saw and read earlier, it's been some positive movement in my perception of what might be going in there. And I'm really happy that some rendering will show people think it tells the story much, much better.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Kathleen Goldman, 17 Otis Place. Can I ask a question of the board for edification? You mentioned FAR multiple times, that we don't have any ratio requirements in Scituate. And rather than Googling this and writing something at town hall, I just wanted to ask if there are any surrounding towns that you know of that do have ratio requirements,
Brookline does.
Quincy does.
but not
Not so common in towns that you would compare closely to Scituate.
Yeah, Wellesley does.
Yeah. At the same time, this is part opinion, part fact, our setbacks aren't exactly huge in our code. I live on a lot that is not non-conforming. It's not a big lot. It's about 15,000 square feet. The code allows me to build within 8 feet of the property line. The building envelope where I'm allowed to build my house, and Bob would give a building permit as long as it was up to building code, my house would look ridiculous if I built to the extent of the code. Or, that's my opinion.
Yeah, you can
I think it
build-
would be a pretty common opinion.
You can build a massive box
And leave very little land left.
with a deck right up to the property
And
line.
with a deck right up to the property line. I recently constructed a deck. The contractor was shocked to learn that. Should we have FAR? That's a conversation that people have a right to have. A lot of towns like Scituate don't. But our setbacks are a little,
Second question, last question for me.
I don't know, but it's complicated.
It's a huge philosophical
Yeah.
discussion, Kathleen. It's an excellent issue, and I'm glad you raised it. And there's no limit on the number of questions you can
Okay.
ask. But I was part of the group that rewrote the zoning bylaw, I don't know, 10-plus years ago. And there were a bunch of us that met on a fairly regular basis and talked about the amendment to the zoning bylaw. And I lived on Borden Road in a non-conforming lot, in a conforming house on a non-conforming lot. And the person that was proposing a lot coverage bylaw lived in a 4,000 square foot house on a conforming lot in the West End. And my argument to that individual was he would never, under his proposal, need to come to this board to ask for relief to further mansionize his mansion. But me, in my little hovel, would have to come crawling to the board for virtually any amount of relief, any bump out I'd want to do. And the people that live in non-conforming lots tend to be in the more affordable areas of town, and the people with conforming lots and conforming houses tend to be in the other part of town, as you go further inland. Now, it's not, black and white, but that was my gripe, is that the people that can least afford it are the people that are going to need relief from the zoning board. And if you get some irresponsible or political people on the zoning board that aren't looking at the law, then folks are going to be forced to or condemned to live forever in their tiny houses without any form of relief. And that was my gripe about lot coverage bylaw. When it was just floated, it was like a trial balloon that was floated, and it didn't go any further. But it's worth having the discussion.
If you increase the setbacks, all you're doing is creating many, many more lots.
More
or houses that have
complication.
nonconformities, which allow people to exploit those nonconformities.
Absolutely.
So, it's a tough call.
It's not an easy solution.
Yeah.
One thing that makes the process easier is remembering someone else bought the land next door, and you bought your land, and to a great extent, they're allowed to do what they want to do over here, and you're allowed to do what you want to do over there, subject to an interpretation of the code. When everyone remembers that, this all gets a little bit easier.
And, I have to say, to John's point, I think as you walk up and down Allen Place, and walk up Otis Place, this home is going to fit right in with that community, in with the other homes that are in that neighborhood.
I'd just like to comment that we talk about setbacks, we talk about you could build a big box filling the whole space, and the setbacks are there not generally to give you your maximum, but to give you your minimum setbacks. And generally, it has to do with a lot where the structure has to be shifted on the lot. It doesn't quite, you can't just plunk it in the middle. A lot of times, lots, because of the geography of the land, the
Topography.
the
Wicked big rocks.
geology, big rocks, beautiful trees, wetlands. We have to have some leeway. If we tried to limit the potential for maximization of use by having increased setbacks, you could make lots, unbuildable. The bottom line is, it's market-based. It's the rare exception, someone who can afford to build something that isn't going to be attractive to a potential future buyer. I can think of at least one property where, I hate to use specific examples, but at the end of a street, on a precipice above the Atlantic Ocean, was placed an enormous structure, far larger than the structure that was taken down. And it's completely not in keeping with the other houses on the way approaching it. But It's at the end of the street. It's on a precipice over the Atlantic Ocean. It commands that kind of a structure. I mean, there's not much you can do. The breakers in Newport broke new grounds when they built it, but there was nothing like it before, and the neighborhood changed. That does happen. I think that anyone who buys I mean, for most people, their home is their largest investment, and most people aren't going to spend the money to build something that's not going to fit the neighborhood, at least to the best of their opinion. And if it's really outrageous, the option is buy the land from them and, don't let them move forward with it. But I don't think anyone's looking to try to destroy their street with the new structure. They're trying to live happily on the street, so.
That's if they're gonna live in it.
Well, it's even more important if they're going to sell it, because if you're going to sell it, you have to make it.
52 and 50, anyway, I can go on. Thank you for the information.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else? All right. Do we have a motion?
Move to find that the proposed raising and reconstructing of the pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling at 52 Otis Place will not be more substantially detrimental to the neighborhood, and it goes in accordance with the plan dated May 15th of Stenbeck and Taylor.
And that to the extent it creates or any new nonconformities or intensifies any existing nonconformities, such nonconformities will not be substantially more detrimental to the surrounding neighborhood.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. Thank you.
You kind of covered that, but I think it's mostly in memoriam.
Mr. DeLisi?
He would lose his mind.
Attorney DeLisi, would you be willing to draft something for consideration?
It got to the point
I think I have it
where
down
I
by
would
now.
leave it off my verbal motions.
Appreciate it, because otherwise I think it was going to be mine.
Wait for him to add it. Sometimes we had a little fun in some very long meetings.
Thank you.
I was reminiscing about how sometimes I'd leave that part off on purpose.
Excellent. You
and then
guys
just look
did-
for
you guys
Frank to
crushed it.
add in there.
Beautiful plans.
That was his swan
Beautiful,
song.
beautiful plans, really.
Brian?
Oh, yeah. I wasn't sure where you were going.
Remember?
Oh, yeah.
My uncle built that originally. Do you need the, no, you want, if you
can take
can
them.
use them, I'll give you these too.
That's gonna get
Dick,
far too cold.
sorry, Dick,
Pretty quickly.
thank you.
I'll get you one, here's one as well. Dick? Because I'll just throw it away.
Only tree is blue.
When it gets too cold, we can close that.
Sure.
That's
Good, thank you.
a second of air.
You throwing that away?
Eventually. Yeah. That's the prior decision on 52 Otis. I was afraid we'd need it. There you go.
You won't get a building permit until
Those plans are beautiful.
Yeah,
Really,
it's gorgeous.
It's gonna look, I think it's gonna look great, you know?
I'm not advocating for pirate ships.
Give it time.
Yeah, right?
There's a fad sweeping the nation. Okay, next up is the application of 14 to 16 Old Country Way LLC. They are requesting a finding in accordance with the bylaw, section 820 and 950.2D, 520, and general law, chapter 48, section 6, to change, extend, or alter the pre-existing non-conforming uses and activities occurring within the non-disturbance buffer zone and of the maximum impervious surface at 14 to 16 Old Country Way, Scituate. Currently, there are 2 single-family dwellings and accessory structures. The uses will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, which contain less impervious surface and 2 buildings containing 6 residential dwelling units and 4,000 square feet commercial business or retail space in the Water Resource Protection Overlay District at 14 to 16 Old Country Way.
This doesn't go back.
Sorry to be so verbose, but it's necessary. So, all right, so I'm Jeff Talisi. I'm here tonight with Paul Maravito of Ross Engineering, as well as Rob Proctor is the owner of the property over there. Michelle Nuzzo of my office, Attorney Nuzzo, as well as Dick Rockwood is also involved in this project. So this is round 2, all right? To refresh the board and the public's recollection, we were here last year with a request for a finding last year to change the pre-existing non-conforming uses on the property. What the issues last year, which were approved, is that we were proposing a conforming use, which was garage bays. This is a business district. And the reason why we needed relief from the board was because we were increasing the impervious area above the required 20%, but decreasing it from what it was, which was 44%, or what it is now. So we also were proposing activities within 150 feet of a buffer strip that prevented certain activities in this zone. So those were the two issues. What we've done is there were a lot of objectors, and folks in the neighborhood were quite upset with what we had proposed. So we went back to the drawing board, all right? And we met with one of the more vocal members of the neighborhood, which was Mr. Montero. We've met with the town planner and the chairman of the planning board. About this property, this is in the Village Business Overlay District. Essentially, encapsulating what that means is that the planning board is empowered to issue a special permit to allow uses of the property, in this case, more density on the property in this business zone, and some mix of a commercial component as well. And so Paul will go over what the plan is, but the concept here is that if the board issues the finding here, we then have to stop at the planning board for a special permit and a site plan approval, which will all include a component of design review. And we need conservation approval as well. So we have a ways to go, and what we are proposing to do now, in summary, is 2 buildings, 6 residential units, and 4,000 square feet of space. That's not 2 buildings plus 6 residential units, that's 2 buildings total, which contain 6 residential units and 4,000 square feet of commercial space. We are moving removing the existing impervious concrete driveway that is presently located above the pipe which runs through the property. We're removing it entirely, and we're pushing the buildings further from that area than what we previously were proposed and previously approved to do. So I know this is a little confusing, it's a little different than what the board usually deals with, and I think Paul could probably state it better than me. So Paul?
So if this is for Paul, that's fine too. Just want to understand and more hear from you what relief we are being asked to grant here tonight specifically?
So it would be a finding.
Yes.
Only.
Of what?
To allow the proposed activity within 150 feet of the tributary that's shown on the plan, as well as a finding to allow us to alter the impervious area on the property, which reduces it from the existing 44% impervious area to, I believe, 42%, which is in a zone that requires a 20% maximum impervious area. So we have 44%. It's presently, and that's our nonconformity.
As I understand, that's your only nonconformity?
No, the other nonconformity is the present activities that occur within 150 feet of the pipe on the property, essentially.
You're referring to
talked
this
about this.
section about, I know, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, so we talked about this, so,
There's a pipe, there's a subsurface pipe, right?
yeah, so section 520.4 of the bylaw, okay, it imposes a 150-foot buffer strip which prohibits uses and activities within that buffer strip from the edge of any tributary leading to a water supply.
And is the tributary on this plan the whole pipe?
So the entire site, Paul will get into this, but since we're talking about it, is
Yeah.
there's a pipe that begins in this approximate
Yes.
area here, runs underneath here, runs underneath Old Country Way. This
Right.
is the law office here. It spills out, runs, I think, in a ditch, and then gets picked up again under a culvert
Right.
under Old Country Way to the water supply. So the concept behind the bylaw is don't poison our water.
Yep.
And what we're showing is technically this tributary is running through, but it's running through a pipe underneath our property. So it's not,
And do
you
you
propose-
contend that that's maybe not a tributary because it's in a pipe?
well, you know,
They can't.
Paul has done a lot more research into that than
Sure.
me, right? This is in a zone A to a water resource area.
Right.
What that means is that the Mass DEP has attempted to map out tributaries to drinking water supplies.
So the area where the
town
pipe
has
is.
adopted a map in its zoning bylaw and called it the Water Resources Protection District. So there's a whole separate map, and that shows on
Oh,
it.
there, answered my question. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Paul?
My name is Paul Maravito from Ross Engineering Company. I represent the applicant. What I just would like to do quickly is explain the existing site, which is outlined in yellow. It's a 29,249 square foot lot. It contains a single-family dwelling in the southeast corner and a larger single-family dwelling in the southwest corner. This is the pipe stream that Jeff just mentioned. This existing house, the deck is approximately 22 feet off of the property line. There are 3 accessory structures, there's sheds, and there's a larger one back in this corner here. This is all existing pavement, some of it's concrete, some of it's bituminous concrete. On the next drawing I show you, you're going to see that the proposed buildings are going to be centered in this area here, where the larger one back here. This entire area is going to become a lawn area. So we'll be staying away from that brook, and the pipe brook, which is subsurface. This is the proposed layout, which will have 2 structures. One will have 4 units of housing, and the one back here would be a 4,000 square foot building that has a shop, and above it there would be 2 apartments. The only pavement would be in this area here. Again, this whole area now is going to become lawn. We're in the existing condition, the land is being used right up to the property line. The previous proposal showed all the parking right along this line here with the driveway and buildings. That's all been removed from this area. Again, this building is more or less centered in the front portion, and this building is at the rear property. These setbacks, the proposed setbacks, need to exceed what's required in the zoning bylaw. The front building, we use an average setback. The average setback was 14.4 feet, and we set that at 15 feet. Side yard setback here is, I believe, 8 feet, and we have 30.6 feet. The rear yard is 20, we're at 20.3. This yard would have been 8 feet, and we're at 15. The previous proposal, we had a building 8 feet off the property line. The closest part of this building is about 50 feet from this property line. So what we've done is to put the residential component in the interior in the front portion and just along the back. These circles represent the required parking spaces. Each one of the housing units would have a space in the interior garage and plus one out in the driveway. So the pavement in this proposal has been substantially reduced, and the buildings have been centered more the buildings are more centered within the perimeter property lines than before. They'll be serviced by town water and town sewer, and again, the existing pavement was, I think, 44%, and we're asking for, I think, 42%. So with that, I'll answer any questions you may have.
Excuse me, may
We're going to do us first, and then we'll get to you.
Great.
Absolutely. Tom? Ed?
I'm waiting to,
Have you inspected that pipe, the pipe that runs through the property? The tributary pipe?
Yes, Holding went out there and he put a camera down it.
What kind of shape is it in?
It's very good shape. That's a 24-inch reinforced concrete pipe. And the pipe runs from this area here down to a structure. And then there's a 36-inch pipe, I believe, that goes under the street to a head wall. And from here, it's an open ditch on the law office property. It goes under an open culvert under Country Way and out to the reservoir.
I think the application said Old
Green-
Oakham.
Yeah,
Bucket Pond, right?
Green Bush Pond, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, I know the area. I was just curious what kind of shape the pipe was in.
That pipe was actually installed, excuse me.
Yeah, we'll just wait 1 minute, just because, and, thank you.
So you've got 44%, you're reducing it down to 42. You've pulled the buildings back from where they were in the approved plan, so that they're not as close to the property line as before. And you had, how many square feet of commercial space did you have before on the original approved plan? Do you
It
know?
was all of it. It was, no, it's much more than that.
Wasn't it like 20?
Yeah, no. It was 8 garage bays, so, figure, we don't know the answer to that question.
Okay, but now you've reduced the square footage, the commercial square footage, and it's business square footage because it's the business district. And the use is allowed in the district. So the only relief that you are looking for from us is as to the impervious surface and the proximity to the tributary.
Yes, and just to add to that, since you kind of were doing a litany of what's different, is on, I'm not sure. On this plan here, which was the previously plan, the driveway was coming in here, this was all impervious area. and it was all parking as
Mhm.
well. Right now, there is a component of this area where vehicles are actually driving over the pipe.
Mhm.
And on your prior approved plan, that was substantially the case, all in this area here.
Mhm.
You'll see a tremendous reduction. This is all gonna be green. And so that's a big deal. It's a big deal. And just to reiterate, Anthony, you asked the question, since you asked it, I was able to find the answer. This is a portion of the Scituate Water Resource Protection Overlay map.
Sure.
The area in light gray
Yep.
is the overlay zone.
Yes.
The area in dark right here is the surface water,
Protection district.
right? And so we are approximately in this area right over here in the middle of that. And because we're in the middle of that, that's what requires that kind of added.
Sure. I was asking more specifically about
About
the
the-
pipe tributary, but you answered my question. Thank you.
Yep.
Bob, anything to add or ask?
I know a year ago when we looked at this, there was some discussion of pervious pavement. I don't think any conclusion was reached, but that was part of the conversation. Has thought been given, and I assume the answer is yes, to stormwater management on the site, what devices and strategies are going to be used?
Yes, we've already prepared the application for Planning Board and Conservation Commission. We're not using the pervious pavement. That's one of the reasons why you see the reduction there. We believe that's a good product, but we know that wouldn't be allowed on this particular site. So that's the reason why we have the pavement where it is, and also it'll be easier to treat in that area. And one of the results is that we pull everything away from the existing pipe, so you won't have traffic over it, you wouldn't have any pavement over it like we did before. So that'll be much better protected.
Fine, thank you.
All right. Just your name and address so we can get it on the record. Please.
Yes, my name is Stephen Montero. My property borders more of Rob's property than anybody else's. I'm from 9 Jenkins Place, third generation on that property. And this proposal, the second proposal, from what these people have done, as far as I can see, most of the people in the neighborhood, and they're not all here, and I've polled just about everybody, this is much more acceptable than the last. And what I wanted to point out before is, I could have sworn, maybe if I was wrong, my property's borders over here. All this was parking, like.
Yeah.
It was,
I thought
yes.
this was parking as well, back here. But right now, they've given me more of a buffer, a green buffer there. And I know this pipe, I know the previous owners. In fact, my mother went to school with one of the owners, and Smokey House, the previous owner, worked that concrete pipe for years.
Yeah.
And they actually installed that pipe. And it's pretty solid. It's
Sounds
been
like it's
installed.
Good Scituate pipe.
Yeah.
Good Scituate pipe, you know, so, and I tell you, it's less concrete, much less parking. There's a lot of children that play around in that neighborhood, you know.
And there probably will be more with the, with the other residences.
Yeah, and, you know, and Rob proposed more green space, is what we need there. I mean, you know, we've kind of all got used to the brewery being there. Matter of fact, they're pretty good people there. They're pretty good neighbors, and except for the parking's a little bit, is a problem. But in that close-knit neighborhood, small neighborhood, most of the people there, second, third generation, like myself. You know, more trucks. Because on the other side here, we got contractor bays, all right? And there's trucks in and out of there, especially what's going on up Fitz's Mill now.
I'm sorry, what's going on at Fitz's Mill?
Oh, they're cleaning, they're filtering the land, they're cleaning up the land there.
So there's
And there's a-
20.
Oh, is Anderson Fuel still there?
No, Anderson sold it, right?
Okay, I'm sorry. I was just curious.
We don't
I haven't been up there. I stop at the brewery.
There's so much, there's so much traffic there now.
I park at the law office. They love it when you do that, by the way.
Okay. Then he loves that.
Yeah.
But around Jenkins Place and Old Country Way, there was so much traffic there, trucks in and out. That's why the first proposal with more truck bays. It's crazy now, the brewery and everything else. Four condos and, that'd be, at most, maybe 8 more cars in the neighborhood.
Well, Stephen,
Six apartments.
Well,
Stephen, as you heard with the last proposal, when applicants reach out to the neighbors, when they listen to the concerns, things go a lot better for them.
I think so, and Rob mentioned something to me, and I really took it at heart. He says, look, I don't want to put something there and go there every single day where the people hate me. That kind of hit home to me, and the man, at his expense, went out and went ahead with this second proposal. And, with everything that's happening in that neighborhood now, this is a lot better than the first proposal. And I think anybody else that's here from that neighborhood, if they agree or disagree, you can speak up,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
My name is
Yes, thank you.
Renee Montero, 9 Jenkins Place. The condos, how many bedrooms are those condos?
There's 2 bedrooms, and then above that is a bonus room. But they're gonna be built as 2-bedroom condos.
2 bedrooms, okay. And what is that, the garage?
Yes,
Garage is
they
there?
have garage under, on the first level, which is,
No, the one
Oh,
closer
yeah, that's-
to my property.
right.
How big is that? Because it looks like you can fit 4 of those condos in that big garage. So that's huge. How big is the
It's
garage?
4,000 square feet.
The footprint of the building.
Right.
So the first floor of the building, which is commercial space, or business uses, would be 4,000 square feet, and then there would be apartments above. I believe 1 apartment?
Two.
Apartments, how many bedrooms?
2 bedrooms.
2 2-bedroom apartments.
So effectively, it's 6 two-bedroom condos, 2-bedroom units. Ownership methodology, I'm not worried about whether it's a condo or an apartment or whatever it is, but 6 units at 2 bedrooms each, with the business space below.
And what type of businesses will be occupying below?
We haven't determined that yet. I think the market's going to dictate that a bit, but it's going to be we're working with the planning board on making sure that these are, retail businesses, I think.
They're not asking for relief from the code as to what businesses or type of business use will occur in the commercial space. So they would have to stay within the code for the general business zone, I believe it is.
And the good thing of coming tonight, you heard that they're gonna go to planning board where there'll be site plan review, there'll be further hearings relative to that.
Okay.
So now, with you knowing that, they'll send you notices for that, and the design aspect that's where you probably want to, address those concerns.
Right, because what type of businesses, that's important, that's very important, so, but there will be further hearings on that, correct?
There'll be something at planning board, yes.
Okay, that's it, that's all the questions that I have.
Thank you.
I have one more question. please, if anybody else.
Go ahead.
Steve Montero, 9 Jenkins Place. I was under the impression, Rob, that there would be a garages there for you, for personal use, and maybe one of the, above the garage would be an office itself, or that you could rent out. I wasn't aware of the commercial aspect.
It has to, I think, maybe Jeff, you can answer.
No,
this, but
no,
It's my intention to take the majority of the garage space for my own personal use.
Okay.
The planning board, the thrust of the thrust of the new planning board bylaw, and frankly the old bylaw, is to try to create a walking village feel. And so one of the kind of quid pro quos of all of it is the town planners would like to see business retail spaces on the first floor. And they would like to see more density, more apartments, because they want to encourage more folks walking around in this business zone. So this is kind of the anchor of the business zone in a sense, because it's one side of it. The other side is all the way down by the pizza place. I think it's now Crust and so forth. And in between, you have the project that went up, and they have a commercial component to that, or a business component to that. But that's what is highly encouraged, and they're trying to encourage owners in this zone to do that. But it's, I think when Rob has conceived this, he always wanted a space for himself to do his own business activities. And I think that's probably still on the board. It's just that we are so far away from that right now, Steve. We don't even know if we're gonna get a special permit, so.
The other question I have is, how many acres is that property?
How many acres?
0.67, so just over half an acre.
A little over half. 6, 7.
Anyone else? No. Okay. You guys good?
Anybody else?
Yes.
Tom Keenan, 16 Jenkins Place. I was going to say I'm much more in favor of this design than the previous one. And at the last time I spoke up about, it seemed like fuzzy math on the pervious and impervious areas. And what it seemed to be was they counted all of the existing roofs that are there now as impervious.
Yes.
And everything that they were putting up as pervious because they drained to that fancy pavement stuff that was going down. But all of those existing roofs actually drained to the ground. So I don't know where that math would have come from, but this definitely has more grass and everything and residents. So I'm just saying it's much more suitable, I think, to our area than what was proposed.
Very good. All right. With that,
Anthony, I would move to find in favor of the applicant that their proposal, in accordance with their plan dated February 21st, 2019, of Ross Engineering of 1416 Old Country Way, and under section 820, 950.2D, 520, and chapter 48, section 6. They be permitted to change, extend, or alter the pre-existing non-conforming uses and activities occurring within the Scituate zoning bylaw, section 520.4, non-disturbance buffer zone, and the maximum impervious surface at 14 to 16 Old Country Way, which is currently at 44%, will be reduced to 42%.
42.5, 42.5.
42.5%. And which property currently contains 2 single-family dwellings and accessory structures, and the proposed change of use will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, and which will contain less impervious surface, and the two buildings containing 6 residential dwelling units and approximately 4,000 square feet of commercial business or retail space in the business and in the water resource protection overlay zoning district at 14 to 16 Old Country Way, Scituate.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, all. Please take the second that one as well.
That motion was a little bit outside of our wheelhouse, right?
Sorry, it was
No, it's a good job.
extensive.
I'm glad, better you than me. I wouldn't.
The next one, I wasn't here for the beginning of it, so.
God, that's continued too. We didn't do anything.
No, this one but you did at hearings on it.
We
You
got one
discuss it.
out of
This is the one
Yeah,
that you
this
were
is- I
concerned
remember
about
this.
the access.
Well, and I was actually one of the, I didn't want to approve a plan that included a driveway that wasn't on the plan.
Right.
Printed.
Yeah. Showing the Joe Norton picture.
It's still here.
I love Joe.
I think this is one of his lollipops, too.
Look, it's getting smaller.
Joe was the best. Best guy.
All right.
I believe we're back with Steve Moran of Morse Engineering. And this is an application for a raise and reconstruct of a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling at 36 Bailey's Causeway.
I think that's right, yes.
And as you will recall, Mr. Moran, we had some questions, and presumably you've addressed them.
I'm sorry, one of you folks mind just closing that door there? Thank you very much. Sorry.
So for the record, my name is actually James Garfield. I'm an engineer at Morse Engineering. Here to represent Rich Walden for the finding associated with the raise and rebuild at 36 Bailey's Causeway. So what brings us here, or Jeff Hassett actually presented this project at the last hearing. And just to reiterate the project, we have a 334% increase in the gross floor area of the new proposed dwelling, but we're not creating any more new nonconformities besides that. And your board asked for more clarification as to what the driveway scenario would be for the 2 lots. So we've revised the plan accordingly. As it sits currently, there's a gravel driveway to the left of the dwelling that serves 36 and 36R Bailey's Causeway. We're planning to replace that with loam and seed and proposing basically just a relocation of that gravel driveway to the other side of the building, which will serve as a common drive for both buildings. And the septic tank, or the proposed septic system will be located under that driveway as well. So with that, leave it to you guys for any questions.
Thank you for the revised plan. And that was our assumption at the last meeting, that that would be the best way to go, but it's not up to us to tell you folks, you and your customer, how to do things. We're not engineers. So I appreciate the plan, and it's in conformity with what we anticipated, and I think it, based on the presentation at the last meeting, meets the standard of the granting of finding.
Tom?
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Anything else? You're sitting this one out?
I wasn't here on the, at the previous meeting, so.
Bob, anything on this one?
I wondered if the common driveway or shared driveway would trigger review of the site plan by the planner or the planning board under section 720.
I hope not.
So they had a shared driveway before,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not sure that it would. And where, so,
That's the other thing, has it been subdivided? Is it subdivided as two separate lots? Or is it one lot?
They're currently two separate lots,
It
with
is,
yeah.
the common drive existing.
yeah.
They're gonna, so
That's the
they're
lot
two
that-
separate lots, so under 81L?
Say again?
Did you did you file an 81L to divide the lots?
No.
I think, how long have they been two separate lots?
I believe, top of my head, but I believe since the 70s.
Yeah, he bought it back in the 70s.
Right. So I think the idea being that they're not doing any subdivision work right now, and they are not getting rid of formerly separate driveways. And so I'm not sure that there's something for the planning board to review, given that. I mean, maybe if it was a new shared driveway, and they were, yeah.
Okay, fine with me.
Furthermore, it'll be a vast improvement over what's there today.
Anyone from the audience have any questions or comments on the application? No. All right. With that,
I make a motion on the application of Richard Walden of 28 Cherry Lane and his request for a special permit finding at 36 Bailey's Causeway, pursuant to 810.248, section 6, to allow the raise and reconstruction of a pre-existing non-conforming single-family home, and that the proposed, based on the proposed plan dated as revised May 13th, 2019 by Morse Engineering, is not substantially more detrimental. And also pursuant to chapter 470.6, that we grant the special permit through A through E.
Second?
all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Doing 36, is that me? I'm doing 36R, right? So I might as well do this one.
Okay.
Yeah. Little bit of cut and pasting and not much changes.
What?
Huh?
You don't start from scratch?
I should get credit for 1.5 decisions for doing both of those, not 2. All right.
Next application is Laura Steen of 15 Egypt Avenue, requesting a special permit / finding in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 6, Section 810.2 of the zoning bylaw, to construct an accessory structure on a pre-existing non-conforming property located at 15 Egypt Ave, increasing the gross floor area by not more than 20%. Representing the applicant this evening is?
Jed Hannon with Atlantic Coast Engineering. And this is Laura Steen here.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, did you say John Hannon?
Jed Hannon.
don't.
Are you the same infamous Joseph Hammond?
Yes,
P.E.?
yes, that's me.
Why don't you go ahead? Yes, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jed Hannon with Atlantic Coast Engineering. This is regarding 15 Egypt Ave. The applicant is proposing an in-law addition to the existing house for just that reason, to, for in-laws to move in and help take care of her kids. The existing house is 759 square feet. The proposed two-story addition is on each floor 17 by 22. So it's approximately a 98% increase in square footage. If you look at the site plan, we're no further intruding on the front setback, which is existing as 24.03. The side setback requirement is 8 feet, and even with the addition, we're at 31.5, so we're no further intruding on that. And then as far as the rear setback, the existing house is 17.44, and the proposed addition is right at about 20 feet, so compliant with the zoning setback in that regard. So again, in summary, the addition we're proposing is for an in-law. We're no further intruding on the setbacks than what's existing. We did talk to conservation to ensure that we're not in a conservation area, and that was confirmed. I have that via email. And we're not in a floodplain either. So there wasn't any, raise and reconstruct issue given the 50% rule. There's an existing driveway in the front, which is pervious. It's 3/4 stone gravel, and then on the side as well. So, we're applying here for the special permit, again, for the in-law addition. And at this point, we'd open it up to any questions and comments you may have.
Jed, so essentially you're here because you have a tiny house that you'd like to build a little bit bigger. Not a lot bigger, just a little bit bigger.
Exactly.
It's, when I say you, your customer, your client, it's under 760 square feet, and you just want to do a little addition for the in-laws.
Exactly.
Well, you've certainly, if you've been here all night, you've heard your request is more than modest. You could go bigger if you wanted, but that's up to you.
I don't think that it would meet the criteria of an accessory dwelling.
Accessory dwelling.
Oh, that's right, oh, it's gonna be.
They got confined there.
Oh, shoot.
Also, who wants to chase the kids around a bigger room in the winter?
Oh, I forgot about the accessory dwelling.
Yeah,
Are
you're
these
right.
the in-laws in the back here?
No, these are my neighbors.
Oh, neighbors. All right, so if the in-laws don't watch YouTube, I've asked people this before, if you want us to deny it so they don't come live with you, you can do it.
You never know, right?
Yeah. Gentlemen?
No problem.
No? Bob?
Nope.
All right. Do the neighbors want to?
I'm sorry, the neighbors.
No, we don't have.
No.
Just a great neighbor and
Here we go.
everything goes
See how
fine.
complicated these things can be?
The kids are all right, too?
You're just putting a second floor.
I'm doing it on the side, so it's like on the side where my deck is now.
Oh, okay.
It's 750 square feet, 2 floors.
Oh, okay. I thought you were putting a second floor on.
On my top.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would require me to move out. I can't afford that.
Okay.
Live in the shed.
Yeah, pretty much.
But you could put the two-story addition in, and
towards
then you could
Bradford
move in
Ave.
there, and then move,
Yeah.
and then
Well, I'm
put the
gonna move in
second
there when I
floor.
redo my kitchen.
It's a 17 by 22-foot, 2-story addition running from the side of the house towards Bradford Ave. And now, and
It's
then,
the opposite side that you got.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so there's Egypt.
and then Bob, just to confirm, is that a side setback towards Bradford, or that's a? It's
front yard.
Front
Front
yard.
yard.
Well, we
setback is-
comply with the
Comply.
31
But
feet,
it
right?
does comply with it.
Yep. All right.
But this is typical of a corner lot. They've got they're 24 feet from Egypt,
Yep.
but, which is non-conforming, but it's, they're not getting any closer.
Touching it.
And they're not even extending it. they're pulling back from it anyway.
And they're both private ways.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it as a corner lot, they're also non-conforming in their rear setback.
Right.
But it doesn't change anything.
That's right.
Move to find that the proposed addition, in accordance with a plan of Joseph Hannon, stamped and dated April 2nd, 2019, to build an accessory dwelling onto the existing property at 15 Egypt Ave, which structure is pre-existing non-conforming, increasing the gross floor area by more than 20%. Such addition will not be more substantially detrimental to people or persons or property in the area than the current pre-existing non-conforming dwelling at that location.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sue, I'll write that decision.
Thank you.
Nice neighbors, they stuck out an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the score? Does anyone not want to know? Do you not want to know?
Go ahead.
No score.
No score?
Yeah, that's it. Other than that. I cut my lawn today. I think that's what's got me going.
We're on to Hummerock.
Sunday I had to cut the lawn.
Next up is
Dana last month.
James Garfield, representing Thomas and Karen Nicholson of 159 York Road, Mansfield, requesting a special permit / finding under Section 810 of the Scituate zoning bylaw to construct an addition to the pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling at 20 Marshfield Ave in Scituate, increasing the gross floor area by not more than 20%.
By more than 20%.
By more than 20%, thank you.
So again, for the record, my name is James Garfield, engineer at Morse Engineering, representing Thomas and Karen Nicholson for this two-story addition for 20 Marshfield Avenue. So this is a pre-existing, non-conforming lot in regards to the, let's see here, in regards to the frontage and the side yard setback. We fall into the business district portion of Hummerock, and our client is proposing a two-story addition, majority of which is within a existing porch area. We're here tonight because the gross floor area will increase by 36.8%. Besides that, we're not creating any new non-conformities on site. So with that, I'll leave it to you guys if you have any questions.
Tom?
Well, it looks like it's in a flood zone, so I'm sure they'll have to comply with that, right, Bob?
Yeah, we'll have to review the,
One more thing, just for the record, we've already been in front of Conservation and the Board of Health and have been approved by both, so.
yeah, if it's deemed a substantial improvement, we'll need to take a look at that relative to the cost of the project and the assessed or appraised value of the house.
I got nothing else.
All right.
Nope.
All right.
I'm familiar with the house. It's one of my favorites in that area because everyone walks by it on the way to the beach. It's just got beautiful lines to it, so I hope whoever the architect is, they
Don't muck it up.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
just mindful of the beauty of the existing dwelling, but again, outside the scope of our purview.
My mother actually owns the house to the right, so I hope so.
Oh, yeah. That's great. It's a beautiful area. It really is.
But it actually looks like the house to the right has a similar kind of a
Yeah.
bump
Yeah,
out
yeah,
on it
they're like, it's like
anyway,
a smaller version of a Welch Colonial kind
Right,
of deal.
but it's got a little bump out just like
Yeah.
what's being proposed here.
Yeah. That's
Or
true.
similar to what's being proposed. Maybe not quite as large, but your mother would be very proud of you. I'm sure.
All right. Nothing to add there in the audience?
That's my
Good?
son.
That's your son. Still, you have a right to speak. And Bob, you're all set?
Yes, thank you.
Of course. With that, do we have a little Gale motion?
Make a motion on the application of Thomas and Karen Nicholson, 159 York Road, Mansfield, Mass. Request for a special permit finding pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 6, and 810.2 of the Scituate zoning bylaw, for the proposed addition to the single-family dwelling located at 20 Marshfield Ave, Scituate, Mass., as depicted on the plan by Morse Engineering, dated 4/16/19, that the proposed addition is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood.
All those in favor?
Second?
Sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
I do that a lot on
Thank
the
you.
last application.
I'll do that one.
Okay.
Thank you. All right.
Move to adjourn?
I think we got some minutes.
Move.
No, we don't.
We don't?
Nope.
Oh, okay, we don't have any
Thank
minutes.
you.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There we go. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Are we off?
Huh? Oh, yeah, we're off.
Thank you.
As soon
Thanks.
as someone says adjourn, I go right off.
You're the man.